One of the great things about living, here in the northern part of the country is that we do have kind of a perfect mix. Where I live in southern Michigan, we don't have a lot of the big cedar swamps and the conifer stands that they might have in Wisconsin or whatever, but you can find those. There's certainly some, evergreen trees in our woods, but we've pretty much got a lot of hardwoods and we got a lot of agriculture. And everybody obviously hunts agriculture because you see a lot of deer. It's not necessarily the best way to kill a deer, particularly in October, and particularly in those years when we get a good acorn crop. And I don't know anything about oak trees other than they drop acorns or acorns, depending on where you're from. And once they start dropping, the deer definitely do change their pattern. White oaks are better than red oaks. You can tell the white oak by the leaf. It's going to be more rounded on its lobes versus the red oak, which is going to be sharp. They do prefer them, but I'll tell you what, if they're dropping from a red oak, they're going to eat them just like they're going to eat them from a white. I can't say that I've ever sat in an area that was all red oaks that were dropping and said, man, there's no deer here because the acorns are too bitter. They come and eat them just the same, but they do prefer the white ones. I mean, if you bite into one, you'll see why. The red's a lot more bitter. But if you're hunting the agricultural fields, which is a good, it's a good tactic, and you see a lot of deer, you're definitely going to have a point in the season where you wonder where all the deer went, because they're going to stop hitting those soybeans the time they turn brown. The corn's so thick and tall you don't necessarily see the deer. Winter wheat can be okay when it's cut, but it's not the best. Well, those deer are still eating, and what they're eating are those acorns. And that's the one time you might be able to find an older buck on his feet when the acorns are not real heavy, and meaning there's not a ton of them around. If you can find those few trees that are producing, those deer need that protein. They love those acorns. If you can find that tree, it's not hard to do. Just take a walk in the woods before the season starts, know where the acorn trees are, and you can spend very little time just zipping through an area and seeing what's going on once those deer stop hitting those crop fields. Because once you stop seeing the deer hitting the food source that they've been on, they're on another food source. And here in our part of the country, that other food source is acorns. So, take a walk around before the season starts to identify where your oak trees are. Then when you stop seeing deer in those fields, get in the woods, be as scent-free as you can. Do it on a windy day, a rainy day, something to cover your noise. And just make a quick beeline through all those spots where you know those acorns are, where the oak trees are, and check on the ground. If you see acorns, a lot of deer sign. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what those deer are doing. So hunt the acorns when you stop seeing those deer in the fields.